Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And the 2030 regular season is now complete. Our Rockies are in the playoffs for the fifth time in a row, the fifth time in 6 seasons since we took this beleaguered franchise over in early 2025. And we just won the second division title in Colorado Rockies history. Our first was a few seasons ago. And franchise record and major league best 103 wins this year. So we will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Very interesting team this year. You can see, well, if I didn't click on it, you can see that first in the league in runs, sixth in, not the league, first in all of baseball in runs, sixth in all of baseball in ERA. The kind of wacky stat on that, we're also first in batting average, first in strikeouts for our pitching staff, sixth in defensive efficiency. But somehow playing half of our games in Coors Field, although we were first in runs scored and first in batting average, we somehow finished 24th in all of baseball in home runs. But it still added up to the best record in baseball, and hopefully we'll have a long postseason run. Although, as I noted, definitely concerned about some injuries, and we'll talk about those in a little more detail once we see if there's anyone who's healthy by the time our NLDS series begins in a few days. Did want to bring up something that I had talked about in the last episode. We did give long-term contracts to a couple of the top prospects in our organization before they had played in the major leagues. And I was talking in the last episode about manipulating Kevin Roberts Jr.'s service time this year. Not that we needed to manipulate it for arbitration reasons, but wanted to manipulate it so he'd be eligible to be a rookie next year to try to take advantage of the prospect promotion incentive and maybe get a draft pick when he, in theory, runs away with the National League Rookie of the Year award. Unfortunately, as a number of viewers, DLL First Base 14, Jonas Damsgaard, and Joe Ferrone pointed out, if you have signed a player to a long-term contract before they have ever played in Major League Baseball, then they're no longer eligible for that prospect promotion incentive, which I didn't realize, but that's the way the game works. And I looked up the Major League rule, and it's actually if you've even signed them to a one-year contract at the Major League level. It doesn't even have to be an extremely long extension like I did. They're no longer eligible for the PPI. So that's a bit of a bummer. I guess the way to maybe get around that would be to promote the player for a couple of games and then give them the extension. It sounds to me that if you did that in Major League Baseball, you might be able to get around that. I'm not sure if it would work exactly that way in OOTP. So a little bit of a bummer that Roberts Jr. won't be eligible for the PPI next year. But even if I had known that quirk, I think I probably still would have signed him to the contract. I think it's obviously risky as a long contract for a guy who had played not even a ton of games at AAA when we gave that offer to him. But ultimately, I think that if that contract works out the way that I hope it could, it's going to deliver a lot more value to our Rockies franchise than a supplemental first-round pick might. And if I had waited to sign him after he had a little bit of major league experience, perhaps he'd be real angry when I sent him down to the minors, and he'd be looking for even more money than we signed him for. So thanks for the information from the viewers on that. Apologies to anyone who was confused by what I was saying, but definitely seems that neither of the players we signed to long-term extensions before they were major leaguers will be eligible for the prospect promotion incentives, unfortunately. And taking a look at the playoff trees, the Baltimore Orioles had the best record in the American League. They and the Texas Rangers will have byes. Our Rockies, of course, will have the bye and home field advantage for as long as we're around in the playoffs. The Washington Nationals also will have a first-round bye in the National League. Some franchises that have struggled in recent years, also in the playoffs, along with the Nationals and our Rockies, the Miami Marlins and the Las Vegas A's in the playoffs this year as well. And I often talk about the value in investing in scouting, having a scout who's really good in scouting international players, and then also having a fair part of your scouting budget devoted to international scouting. And an example of that right here with catcher Butch Canez, 16-year-old that our scout found. Doesn't necessarily look like he's going to be a superstar. We think his potential is kind of a major league average type player, and that's on very low scouting accuracy with extreme development risk. But he's durable, looks like a potentially very good defensive catcher who can also potentially hit a lot of home runs. So we'll know more about whether Canez becomes anything useful over the next 5, 6, 7 seasons as far as a potential major leaguer, but definitely doesn't hurt to have the random scouting findings like that at least look in a scenario where they come close to reaching their potential, that they could be pretty useful major league players. And the wild card series are over. Good news is that our starting center fielder for much of the season, Dean West, back from, I believe it was some bone chips in his elbow. Bone chips in his elbow that kept him out for the final 6 weeks of the season. So he will be back. Unfortunately, we'll be missing our all-world shortstop Ezekiel Tovar, who's missed since last September with a torn labrum. And the second baseman that we picked up this year, Andres Jimenez, out with a partially torn labrum as well. So our infield defense, and in the case of Tovar, our infield offense will be somewhat weaker. And we also, unfortunately, lost our number 2 starter, Isaiah Shader, the youngster who was 14-4 with a 3.87 ERA. Strained triceps in his final start of the year about a week and a half ago. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. Jimenez out for 3 weeks. So we'd have to make it to the World Series to have either of those guys potentially in the mix. And even if we make it to the World Series, very questionable whether either will be ready to come back. And in those wild card series, the Rays took out the Blue Jays in a matchup of AL East foes, and the Rays will now go up against the AL East winning Baltimore Orioles. The A's swept the Tigers in 2 games. They'll face their AL West rival, Texas Rangers. The Cubs took out the Marlins, and they'll face off against the Nationals. And then the Brewers took out our division rival Dodgers, so we'll be facing Milwaukee in this divisional series. Either way, it was going to be a tough matchup. The Dodgers, perennial playoff team, they've won a World Series in the 5 years that we've completed in this playthrough, and they have one of the top, if not the top, budgets and payrolls in baseball every year. The Brewers, not a particularly easy matchup either, though. A year ago, they had the best record in all of baseball, and they lost in 7 games to the World Series to the Boston Red Sox. So either way, we were going to have a tough matchup period. Bit of a down year for the Brewers. They were a wild card team at 88-74. We ranked first in the National League in runs scored while they were 4th. We were tied for 2nd in the National League in runs against while they were 9th. So on paper, you would think we would be favored, but Milwaukee actually did take the season series against us, winning 4 out of 7 games. Only a best of 5 series here. And unfortunately, with the injury to Mr. Shader, both Andrew Painter and Pablo Lopez are potentially going to be in our rotation if we go to 4 games in this series. And our strong play on the field has definitely paid dividends this year. I think fan interest was 46 when the season started, if I remember correctly, after some huge hits this past offseason. So we boosted it quite a bit with our really strong play, and you can see attendance has generally been on a steady upward trend over the course of this season. Only 2 more home games guaranteed, though, so probably going to have to make it to the NLDS to ensure that we make money this year. Thinking about our goals, though, we're actually in pretty good shape. Ownership wanted us to reach the playoffs. We crushed that goal, obviously. Ownership wanted us to upgrade in left field. Chandler Simpson is the exact same left fielder we had last year, but he performed better this year, so apparently ownership views that as acceptable. And we also needed to improve staff cohesion. We actually only made 1 change to our coaching staff this past off season that helped a little bit, but with the way that we've been playing in that 1 change, staff cohesion is ecstatic. So the hope maybe is if we have a good result in the playoffs and win at least 1 series, we can maybe put ourselves in a position where we'll be making money this year. Even if we unfortunately face an early exit, the hope is that maybe with the very strong regular season performance and the nice work with the goals that we're going to have for this year, that maybe ownership will be willing to increase our budget from the $206 million that it's been the last couple of seasons. It was $220 before we took over in 2025, and it peaked at $212 million a couple years ago in 2028. And taking a look at the Game 1 pitching matchup today in Colorado, Mike Burrows, the veteran who was actually one of the guys we selected when we were the GM and manager for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. He was 5-4 with a 4.73 ERA for Milwaukee this year. So the right-hander, still a solid major league starter who put up a 2.0 WAR, but doesn't look dominant at this point. On the mound for us is our ace, Jesus Luzardo, won 17 games for a 2nd straight year, the best season he's had in Colorado in the 4 years now since we signed him as a free agent. 17-5 record, 2.78 ERA, and a 3.8 WAR for the lefty Luzardo. The hope is certainly that we get the win today with our ace on the mound. And before we actually play the first game, I think we'll talk briefly about what we decided to do with the playoff roster, as we often do, as we always do at this point. With the extra off days of the playoffs, we go with a 12-man pitching staff. The odd man out for us was actually Bobby Miller. Does not end up making the staff. He was a starter for us at the beginning of this year, which did not go well. Didn't go particularly well for him in the bullpen either. Finished the year with a 7.65 ERA and almost a 1.5 below replacement. He's set to make $3 million next year. With his ineffectiveness this year, maybe we'll look to move on from him in the offseason. But he misses out on making the playoff roster, at least at this point. Among the position players, I don't know if it's a huge surprise, but we did go with all 4 of the youngsters. Christian Arguelles, Trent Clausen, and Kevin Roberts all made the team, along with Dean West, who's healthy now. I guess it's 3 youngsters since Dean West was with us last season. The 4th youngster is Ryan Stone. I felt like there were 4 out there. So all of the young guys who came up in either August or September on the roster, with Dean West back, the real odd man out is Brendan Tunick, who we picked up as a Rule 5 acquisition. He was an important outfielder for much of this year, but hit just 243 and 337 at-bats after we had to keep him on the roster, even though he hadn't played above Double-A. Still think between the speed, the personality, and the good defense, he could be a useful fourth or fifth outfielder for us down the line, but want to give some opportunities to some of the younger players in platoon situations. So Tunick, kind of the odd man out, even though we did go with 14 position players on the roster. And with that, we will get the playoffs underway. Burrows against Luzardo need a big day from our lefty ace. And we get an 8-4 victory. Luzardo with the W. Carlos Rodriguez takes the loss in relief. One of the rookies, Ryan Stone, with his first postseason home run, at least at the major league level in his career. Jesus Made with a couple of homers for Milwaukee, but we still got the W. Looks like we busted things open a bit in the third. 5 runs to take a 5-2 lead. Run-scoring single from West, who we were talking about, and then a 2-run single from Stone. So a really big game from the first baseman, Ryan Stone. You may notice we decided to put him, the youngster, in the roster against right-handed pitching rather than Charlie Condon, who had been our first baseman most of the year. Condon will still be playing first base for us against left-handed pitching, but the move to Stone against right-handed pitching certainly seems to have helped. 2 for 4 with a couple runs scored and 3 ribbies. Amador, Meyer, Romo, and West with the other ribbies. Luzardo was effective, wasn't great, but did enough to get the W. 8 hits, 4 earned runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts over 5 1/3. Luke Little, Orion Kerkering, and Gregory Santos combined to allow just 1 base runner over the final 3 2/3 innings. So a massive crowd in Colorado and a win for our Rockies in game number 1 of this National League Division Series. Oh, and I was going back through getting ready for game number 2, and some of you probably noticed Rodriguez was actually the starter for Milwaukee. They ended up pivoting from Mike Burrows for some reason. I was a little surprised given that they had just played in a wild card series. I thought it was possible that maybe Burrows had pitched, and he did pitch in that series, it looked like. So now Burrows back on normal rest. So he will be on the mound for Milwaukee as they try to salvage a game before we head a good chunk of the way across the country. Braden Nett, all he did this year was lead the National League with 18 wins, 18-5 record, 3.50 ERA, struck out 10 batters per 9 innings and put up a 3.4 WAR for us. The right-hander will be on the mound for our Rockies here in game number 2 as we try to take care of business at Coors. And we get the job done. Nat has had so many really good games this year. It seems like every time there was a game where we shut out the opposition and we happened to just randomly talk about it over the course of the season, it was Nat getting another victory. And that happened today, a 5-0 victory for the Rockies. Nett with the W, Burrows with the L, Drew Romo with a homer, and Ryan Stone, perhaps the new Mr. October. 2 Major League playoff games, 2 Major League playoff home runs after having just 4 home runs and 180 at-bats for us in the regular season. Stone is liking his opportunity in these playoffs. Scored a run in the first, 2-run homer from Stone in the bottom of the third, added insurance runs in the 6th and the 8th. 3 ribbies for Stone and a couple from Romo. The runs scored were pretty well spread out. Nett, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs. Drew Summers and Justin Gibson combined for 3 innings of scoreless relief. Burrows was not horrible, but he definitely was not good enough. And feeling good about our Rockies as we'll be taking a 2-0 lead to Milwaukee. And as we get ready for game number 3 of our series, the Rangers have already swept the A's out of the playoffs. The Orioles have a 2-1 game lead over the Rays. The Cubs and the Nationals split their first 2 games in Washington. We will have Andrew Painter on the mound. Made the big trade for him about 11 months ago. Signed him to an extension. Very disappointing first year for him in Colorado. A 6-13 record with a 4.75 earned run average. Gave up way too many homers and walks. 26 home runs allowed and 75 walks allowed in just 161 innings pitched. Still was 1.3 wins above replacement level, so still hopeful that he'll become a useful 3rd or 4th starter for us down the line. With the injury, he's our 3rd starter right now. Tobias Myers going to be on the mound for Milwaukee, the 32-year-old. 7-11 this year with a 4.69 earned run average. We'll see if we can sweep Milwaukee out of the playoffs and earn our 2nd playoff series victory in this 5th playoff appearance for our team. Generally, our trips to the postseason have not lasted particularly long, even though we have been in the postseason, as I mentioned, 5 years in a row at this point. Unfortunately, we get the loss today, shut out. Myers with the W, Painter takes the L, so the lead cut in half, 2-1. A couple of runs in the 4th inning, run-scoring doubles by Chourio and Made, and then a 2-run double in the bottom of the 8th by Josh Naylor to put the final nails in the coffin in a 6-0 defeat for us. Got a couple of hits from Kevin Roberts Jr. and Gus Nieves. Other than that, just one other hit on the day, Marcelo Meyer. Painter, 7 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs over 5 2/3 innings. Myers was dominant, 4 hits and a walk allowed over 7 innings pitched. And we will be moving on to Game 4. The hope is that we get the win here and don't have to play another home game in this National League Division Series. International amateur free agents have been revealed. We'll be spending a lot more time on that later. I'll probably take a quick look offline, hopefully between series. Could be after this series if we end up losing the next 2 to Milwaukee. But want to make sure that we at least get the right guys into camp for October. But as I said, I won't get into any details as far as how that class looks until we have the players scouted up materially more than they are at this point. Game number 4 on the mound for Milwaukee, the veteran Freddie Peralta, the right-hander, 8-10 with a 3.90 earned run average this year. On the mound for us, Pablo Lopez missed most of the year. We signed him to a big 5-year, $110 million contract almost 3 years ago. He has not been as good as we would have hoped, but we did, given his age, put in a team option for next year that we will almost certainly not be exercising given the salary constraints we're facing given our budget. Lopez had a rough year after he came back from his injury, 3-3 with an ugly 5.81 ERA. If it were not for that very late season injury to Isaiah Shader, Pablo Lopez would be pitching out of the bullpen for us, but we've spent $60 million on him over the past 3 seasons. It's time for Lopez to pitch this team into the World Series or the National League Championship Series. Would love it if he pitches us into a World Series in a week and a half from now. But first things first. And we do get the victory. So Pablo Lopez comes through, gets the W. Peralta takes the L. Orion Kirkering with the save. He's another guy who we're renting for this year, unlikely to be able to keep. Home run from Gus Nieves. All he did this year was lead the National League in homers for a second time in 3 seasons. Mike Bove with a homer for Colorado. And the youngster, Ryan Stone, is your NLDS most valuable player. Taking a look at the box score, a couple runs in the fourth. Amador and Meyer with RBI singles. They chipped back on the solo home run in the bottom of the fourth. Added a run in the sixth on the solo homer from Nieves. And the pitching staff made things hold up. Lopez, 4 hits, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts with 1 earned run on the solo home run over 6 innings, so a quality start from him. And Ryan Kerkering was outstanding, 3 innings pitched, allowed just 1 hit to record the 3-inning pitch save, although honestly the game was tight enough that if we had brought in another reliever there in the ninth, it was a save situation, but only needed 23 pitches to get through those 3 innings. I guess the manager felt that our outstanding stopper was the guy to stick with, and given that we've moved on to the National League Championship Series, I'm not going to second guess him. I also just gave him last episode, as we talked about, a 5-year extension at $1.25 million a season starting next year. So the time for second guessing Mr. Stovland is not right now. And an interesting year in the playoffs. All 4 of the teams with first-round byes have advanced to the League Championship Series. The Orioles took out the Rays in 4 games, and they will be facing the Rangers, who swept the Athletics. The Rangers have already taken Game 1 of that ALCS over Baltimore. We, as you know, took out the Brewers in 4 games. The Nationals needed 5 games to get past the Cubs. So we will be facing off against the second best team in the National League. Mentioned that I thought we could probably get to profitability this year if we got to the League Championship Series. I think we were expected to lose about $11 million at the start of that series. So with a couple of good gates at home and then our portion of some good gates in Milwaukee, we should end up making money this season, which is hopefully will, with the success we had on the field in the regular season, the success that we've had so far in the postseason, and the good job that we did with the owner goals this year that we talked about. Hopefully that will set us up to get a little more money in the budget next year. I'd love it if the fan loyalty moved up over pathetic after 5 straight playoff years, but I know that that metric can be relatively sticky. So we'll find out the answers to those questions after the season is over. Right now, though, our focus is going to turn to this National League Championship Series, and hopefully having this be the first year that we've won multiple series in the playoffs in this whole playthrough. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but if we do make it to the World Series, Andres Gimenez looks like he's only a week away from that partially torn labrum. So it's conceivable that he could be healthy by then. Unfortunately, Shader still 2 weeks away from recovering from that strained triceps. So unlikely that he'll be ready, but depending on whether it's closer to a week and a half or 2.5 weeks, there could be a decision to make to potentially put him on a World Series roster and hope that he could pitch in Game 4 or maybe in a great situation, Game 3 for us. But before we need to worry about any of those things, we're going to need to win 4 games against the Washington Nationals. As I mentioned, the 93-win Nationals were the second best team in the National League this year. They were 6th in the league in runs scored, 4th in runs against. We did do well against them, taking 5 of the 7 games that we played. We've got our ace, Jesus Luzardo, on the mound. They've got Cade Cavalli on the mound, 13-6 with a 3.20 earned run average for the 32-year-old right-hander. Does have fly ball tendencies, so maybe we'll have a couple of big pop-ups today in Colorado against him. And we get a 3-2 victory. No big flies for us, but we'll take the W. Lizardo with the W, Cavalli with the loss, Kirkering with another save. So manager is not pushing Wellington Herrera, who led the National League in saves this year, much in the playoffs, using the stopper Kirkering more often. We scored a run in the top of the first, but they came back with 2 in the top of the second to take a 2-1 lead against us. No scoring then until the bottom of the sixth. Run scoring doubles from Marcelo Meyer and Drew Romo to give us the final 3-2 margin. A couple of errors by the Nationals, and they had just 4 hits against our pitching. Meyer with a big offensive day for us, 3 for 4 with a run scored and a ribby. Lizardo, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no walks, struck out 6, only 2 earned runs, and another 3-inning save from Kirkering. He was perfect this time around and struck out 4. Cavalli with a nice start, and Stewart did a good job in relief, but the runs were difficult to come by today in Coors, and that meant that we can see we got a lot of scouting reports today on some of these new young international amateur free agents that we've been scouting up, but going to focus for the time being on this playoff series and hopefully putting ourselves in a position where we can fly across the country to Washington with a 2-0 lead. Braden Nett, talked about him earlier, ended up pitching as part of a combined shutout for us in game number 2 against Milwaukee. He'll be going up against the left-hander Mitch Bratt, 13-9 with a 4.56 earned run average, a 3.1 WAR on the season. The first southpaw we're going to face in these playoffs as a starter. So we'll see if maybe we can score some runs off of him with a different lineup than the one you've gotten used to seeing the first 5 games of this postseason. And we do get a victory, 12-5. The home runs were actually from Washington. James Wood, Christian Vaquero, and Angel Feliz. But we got a couple of dingers from Adael Amador and a 12-5 victory to move ahead 2-0 in this series. We scored early and often, combined 8 runs over the first 4 innings. After they bounced back a little bit with 2 in the 5th, we came back with 3 in the 6th on our way to that 12-5 easy victory. Charlie Condon finally in the lineup since we're facing a left-hander, and he had a run-scoring single in the first inning. Amador, the 2 home runs included a solo shot in the second and a 3-run homer in the 4th. So a monster game for Adael Amador, 4 for 5, 4 runs, 5 ribbies, and the 2 dingers. Cole Carrig with 3 hits as well. Marcelo Meyer with a couple hits at the bottom of the lineup. Braden Nett with his second win of the playoffs, a quality start, 5 hits, a walk, 2 earned runs, and 11 strikeouts over just 6 innings pitched. Joe Rock with an ugly relief performance. He was the other guy who was potentially in the mix to be a 3rd or 4th starter for us instead of Mr. Painter or Mr. Lopez after Shader went down with the injury. So based on that performance, maybe we made the right choice with Painter and Lopez. Bratt, rough outing for him, 6 hits, 3 walks, and 5 earned runs over just 2 2/3 innings. Adael Amador, not just your player of the game, but also ties the NL playoff record with his 4 runs scored today. And game number 3, and we're in a good spot for game number 3, having won the first 2. We'll have Andrew Painter on the mound, the one starting pitcher who took a loss for us in the first round series. He'll be going up against Mitchell Parker for Washington. The 31-year-old lefty was 14-7 with a 3.14 ERA this year. 4.1 WAR, had a really nice season, and it looks like he's had some pretty solid seasons over the past few years. Is fragile physically. We'll see if we can beat a lefty for a second consecutive game here. Not to be the case, though, a 4-3 loss. Parker with the W in relief. No, he was their starter. What am I saying? Painter takes the loss for us. A save to Adam McShay. We did get a dinger from Charlie Condon, so he has been productive in the lineup against left-handed pitching. But similar to the first series, after taking a 2-0 lead, we dropped game number 3 on the road. Rough way to do it, actually, too, because we scored single runs in the second, third, and fourth to take a 3-0 lead on the road. They bounced back with 3 in the fourth and took the lead for good with a run-scoring double from House in the bottom of the fifth. Not a lot of offense for us today. A couple of hits from Drew Romo, only 6 hits on the day for our Colorado Rockies. Painter, 7 hits, a walk, and 4 earned runs allowed over 5 innings. Did strike out 6. Luke Little and Orion Kirkering combined for 3 scoreless innings of relief, but the offense was not great. 51-minute rain delay in the 6th inning. And we are now headed to game number 4 with a 2-1 lead over these Washington Nationals. Over in the American League, the Orioles and the Rangers tied at 2 apiece. Lopez on the mound for us. Shane Baz, the veteran 31-year-old who was 11-8 with a 3.54 ERA, on the mound today for the Nationals. Lopez came through with a big outing last time around. Every time he pitches could be his final game with the Rockies. Will he give us another good one today? And he gave us a really nice one today, a 6-0 victory for the Rockies to take a 3-1 lead. Lopez with the W, Baz with the L, Gus Nieves with his first homer of the series, and the youngster Kevin Roberts Jr. with the first Major League postseason home run of his career. Taking a look at the box score, 3 runs in the top of the first. Ryan Stone with a run-scoring double. So our first base platoon continues to be pretty productive between Stone and Condon. 2-run homer from Nieves in the top of the first. Added a run in the fourth on a RBI single by West. Additional runs in the 7th and 8th. And a big win for us. Things broke our way today, and that's great, said Mr. Staveland. And we will certainly take it. 3 hits from Stone, a couple of ribbies from Nieves, 2 hits from Amador, Romo, and West. So outside of Marcelo Meyer, everyone on the team either had at least 1 hit. So a well spread out offense. 5 hits allowed to Washington. Lopez with an outstanding performance. 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts over 8 1/3 innings. Santos came on to get the final 2 batters in the 9th. So I know having Lopez on the team and not being able to trade him away has been controversial with many viewers over the past few seasons, but he is coming up big thus far in these 2030 playoffs for us. Maybe he knows he's trying to justify us picking up that $25 million team option for next season. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. No matter what Lopez does in these playoffs, there's no way we're picking up that option. And the dream of having our number 2 starter possibly back for the World Series is officially over. Isaiah Shader suffered a setback. Going to take at least a couple weeks until he's ready to play again. So it was a low probability event anyways, but certainly it's a no probability scenario now that he will be back. The Orioles up 3-2 on the Rangers. Off day in the American League today as we try to clinch against the Nationals and give ourselves a little more rest before a potential World Series matchup. Rematch of the game number 1 starters, Luzardo and Cavalli. We won that one 3-2 at home. Let's see if we can avoid having to play another game in Colorado until the World Series. And we are going to the World Series for the first time ever with these Colorado Rockies. Not their first time, but our first time here. Lizardo with the W, Cavalli with the loss, Kirkering with his second save of the series, a 4-0 victory. So the pitching really came through for us. Allowed 2 runs, 5 runs, 4 runs, and then 2 shutouts in a row in the games 4 and 5. Adail Amador is your National League Championship Series MVP. Taking a look at the box score, runs in the 3rd and 4th, 2 in the 5th, all the scoring that we needed. Couple of hits in a ribby from both Stone and Nieves. 2 hits from Cole Carrig as well. Amador goes 0 for 3 today, but still had done enough in the series to win the MVP award. Allowed only 4 hits to Washington. Lizardo, 4 hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts over 6 1/3 scoreless innings. Kirkering with his 3rd save of the playoffs, 2 2/3 innings of perfect baseball, striking out 3. And the Colorado Rockies are headed to the 2030 World Series. So our decision to try to keep this team together this year definitely paid off with the best record in baseball, and now it's definitely paid off getting the team to the World Series. Clearly, we're going to want to win it all when we go there. Never know what's going to happen, but I still don't know exactly how this team is playing as well as it does, but I'll take it. And as we're waiting to find out who we're going to face in the World Series, some good news. Second baseman Andres Jimenez ready to come back. Signed him as a minor league free agent with a $2 million major league salary if he made the team. He is a guy who has won 7 of the last 8 Gold Glove awards at second base in the American League. And he might win one here in the National League this year with his 9.8 zone rating and 1.096 defensive efficiency at the position. He is back and healthy. Not much of a bat, but love the glove. Love the influence in the clubhouse. Love the base path work that he does. Outstanding base runner, really good speed, and pretty good instincts as far as stealing, although 14 out of 19 is not incredibly efficient, but still put up a 2.1 WAR for us. When we start thinking about our playoff roster, we'll be putting him on it, and we'll have to think about what we want our lineup to look like. But I think that most likely Otto Lopez, who's been a utility infielder for us after we picked him up in a trade, maybe moving on from the team, or perhaps one of the younger outfielders who's not getting consistent playing time might be a guy that we look to move on from. The youngster Christian Arguelles or Otto Lopez would be, to me, the 2 guys to think about moving on from. Even our backup catcher, Adley Rutschman, is in the lineup as our DH against left-handed pitching. So clearly it'll be one of the only 2 guys who aren't in a starting position against either lefties or righties for us, Arguelles or Lopez. I think I'm probably inclined to keep Lopez on the roster just because we have so few right-handed hitters. Could see a scenario in a long extra inning game where, although Lopez is not a particularly dynamic offensive player, that right-handed bat might be useful for us. And to make room on the roster for Mr. Jimenez, we decided to send the young outfielder Arguelles to the bench. Otto Lopez will remain a utility infielder for us. Gives us a little more opportunity to mix and match defensively in the infield. And as I mentioned, that right-handed bat is not one that we have a lot of on this team, which is a little surprising. So kept Lopez, the veteran, around rather than the youngster Arguelles. put Jimenez in the lineup as our second baseman. That meant that we pulled out Cole Carrig, who was playing third base for us against right-handed pitching, pivoted Amador to third base defensively, and moved Dean West up to eighth. Let Jimenez hit ninth. Dean West and Chandler Simpson both slumping right now, which is certainly not optimal, as this World Series against the Baltimore Orioles prepares to get underway. So the two best teams in baseball, the best teams in each league, are the ones that are going to be facing off in this World Series. The Orioles took out the Rangers in 6. Obviously, as you know, we took out the Nationals in 5. And with that additional round of playoffs in the books, you can see we're going to make some money this year. So now at this point, every additional penny that we make in these additional home and road playoff games is just gravy. But best record in baseball. At the very least, we've made it to the World Series, done well with the owner goals, and we're going to make some money for Mr. Condon this year. Would hope that helps with the budget, and would love it if it also helped us get off of that pathetic fan loyalty. But we're still 4 wins away by either us or Baltimore from finding out the answers to some of those questions. Let's hope that those 4 wins are for us. And as we get ready for this series against the Orioles, clearly the best teams in each league. The Orioles won 95 games. They were second in the American League in runs scored, tied for second in runs against. So 2 very dominant teams facing off. I don't know why our manager is Jesus Luzardo, who last threw 78 pitches 5 days ago and is our number 1 starter, set to go in game number 4. But we are going to put him on normal rest here in game number 1. So I got to make that change to our rotation. And then when we look at the rest of it, Lopez has had plenty of rest at this point. Painter has had plenty of rest at this point. And Braden Nett is fully rested as well in that 5-game series. Luzardo is the last one who pitched, but with our series going shorter than the Orioles and the number of off days involved before we're getting going here on Halloween, I don't see why we wouldn't just have our number 1 starter pitching in game number 1 on normal rest, and then every other pitcher for us going on extra rest. And I mentioned that we had a couple of key batters who were cold, but when you look at this pitching staff, Lopez, Luzardo, Nett, Justin Gibson, Luke Little, and Orion Kerkering are all hot right now. So 6 of our 12 pitchers are lights out at this point. Hopefully that will be an asset for us as we try to win 4 more games in this 2030 season. Luzardo on the mound for us. Bubba Chandler on the mound for Baltimore. The 28-year-old, 12-4 with a 3.09 ERA, led the AL, allowing just 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. Hopefully we can change that good home run allowed record for him today in Colorado. And we do get a 5-2 victory, and we do get a home run from Drew Romo. One of our hot pitchers, Justin Gibson, with the W. Wellington Herrera, finally get to call the name of the guy who had 51 saves this year for us. A game number 1 victory for our Rockies, 5-2. Scored 3 in the bottom of the second, including a run-scoring single by Romo. They came back with 2 in the third, a 2-run single by Kobe Mayo. We added 2 more runs in the 8th on a 2-run homer by Drew Romo. So a 5-2 victory in game number 1 for our Rockies. A couple of hits from Nieves, a couple of hits in 3 ribbies, including the homer from Romo. And we've got a 1-0 lead. Not a vintage Luzardo game. 4 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned runs over 4 2/3 innings. but he did enough to keep things close and was just one out away from potentially qualifying for the W. Gibson, Kirkering, and Herrera combined to allow 4 hits with no runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts over the final 4 1/3 innings. Chandler, 4 hits, 3 walks, 3 earned runs over 4 2/3. He takes the loss. And our Colorado Rockies are up 1-0 on the Baltimore Orioles here in the World Series as the calendar gets ready to flip to November. And getting ready for game number 2, the winningest pitcher in the National League, Braden Nett, who's 2-0 with a 1.50 ERA in his 2 playoff starts this year, will be going against the 36-year-old Michio Nakamura for the Orioles, 4-7 with a very good 2.48 ERA and 3 wins above replacement in 22 starts for Baltimore. Lefty on the mound, so a different lineup for us than yesterday when we were facing the righty Bubba Chandler. We've taken a 2-0 lead at home in each of the first 2 playoff series we've played this year. Will the same thing happen today? And it does. A 10-2 victory. Nett with the W, Nakamura with the loss, Joe Rock with the save. Got a home run from Charlie Condon as that first base platoon remains very productive in these playoffs. Taking a look at the box score, we jumped on the Orioles with 5 runs in the bottom of the first. They tried to claw their way back with 2 in the bottom of the 2 in the top of the second. We matched them with 2 in the bottom of the second. 3-run homer and a 2-run single by Condon and Romo, respectively, in the top of the first. Run-scoring double by Amador in the bottom of the second. And after that, we were off to the races on our way to a 10-2 victory. Our pitching allowed just 3 hits today. 2 hits apiece by Carrig, Condon, Nieves, and Romo. 3 hits, and to go with 2 runs and 3 ribbies by Mr. Amador, who making a case to win another playoff series MVP award. Nett with a quality start, 3 hits, 3 walks, 2 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts over 6. A 3-inning save by Joe Rock. Didn't allow a hit, did allow 2 hits while striking out 3. Nakamura didn't even get out of the first inning. So as we've seen in each of the first 2 series of these playoffs, our Rockies have taken a 2-0 lead. In both of those other series, we lost Game 3 on the road. The hope is that we'll get a different result from that in Baltimore in a couple days. And the common theme, of course, in those Game 3 losses for us has been Andrew Painter, who's 0-2 with an ERA of close to 6 in the playoffs. He'll be going up against Brandon Pfaadt, 5-6 with a 3.47 ERA for the Orioles this year. Can we stop the curse of Andrew Painter in Game 3 of playoff series? We cannot. The Baltimore Orioles with a 4-0 victory to get their first win of this World Series. They scored a run in the third on Jackson Holiday single, 2-run double by Willems in the 6th inning, and that was plenty for them. Only 3 hits today for our Rockies, Simpson, Stone, and Meyer with the hits for us. So not a ton of offense. Painter actually had a quality start, 3 earned runs over 6 innings, but he does drop to 0-3 in these playoffs. Good pitching performance, obviously, by everyone on the Baltimore team as they shut us out. Patrick Sandoval, the reliever, was injured while pitching, pending shoulder injury, so we may not be seeing any more of him these playoffs. We'll see if we can bounce back after losing Game 3 in each of the first 2 series. We did bounce back with a win in Game number 4, and certainly would love to see that happen here today, which would put us on the precipice of a potential World Series title. Lopez in what will almost certainly be his final start for the Colorado Rockies. Can he give us a third straight playoff gem? He'll be going up against Brandon Young, the 32-year-old right-hander, 11-3 with a 3.65 earned run average for the Orioles. Did allow 23 home runs, though, in 162 and two-thirds innings. So if our bats are locked in, we may be able to score some runs here in Camden Yards. We did score 2 runs, but unfortunately for us, Baltimore scored 7. So it is now a best-of-3 series as the Orioles have fought back to take 2 in a row at home. We got a homer from Nieves, but they got homers from Mayo, Henderson, and Holiday. Lopez finally took his first loss of the playoffs. They scored a run in the second and then erupted with 4 in the fifth. We came back in the 8th to close the gap to 5-2 with a 2-run home run by Nieves, but far too little too late. A couple of hits today for the youngster Kevin Roberts Jr., 3 hits for Romo. Jackson Holiday with a monster game for the Orioles, 3 for 4 with a couple of runs scored and 4 ribbies. Lopez, 5 hits, 2 walks, 5 earned runs. Did strike out 8 over 4 2/3 innings. Rock and Santos pitched in relief. Really nice performance from Young, 6 scoreless innings before he turned it over to the bullpen. And now things are getting very interesting. The series tied up 2 games apiece as we prepare for, no matter what, the final game of this 2030 season in Baltimore. A matchup of game number 1, Luzardo and Chandler. Luzardo has won every game that he's pitched for us in the playoffs this year. We'll see if he can add another one for us, or more accurately, we've won every game that Luzardo has started. He did not actually get the W in game number 1 of this series, but we are 4-0 when Luzardo has been on the mound. If we can push that to 5-0 in these playoffs, definitely going to like our chances. But the home team has won every game in the series. A 4-3 victory for the Orioles. Went into the bullpens. Hannafy got the W. Kerkering took the loss. And Balazovic with the save for the Orioles. So after that great 2-0 start to this series for us, the Orioles have come back with 3 in a row. I guess the only silver lining is we're headed home, and the home team has not lost yet in this series. We traded runs in the first. They scored in the bottom of the 4th. They scored 2. We came back and tied it with 2 in the top of the 5th. But in the 7th, a run-scoring double by Ramirez off of Kerkering, and that was the margin of victory. Stone, 1 for 3 with 3 ribbies for us. A couple of hits from Simpson and Nieves. Willems and Ramirez, they're 7 and 8 hitters combined for 5 hits, 2 runs, and 3 ribbies. So we let the bottom of the order ruin things for us. Respectable performance from Luzardo, but Kerkering gave up the big hit in the late innings, and the Orioles have the lead in this series. And for the first time in this postseason, our Colorado Rockies will be facing a potential elimination game. But we are, as I said, back at home. Braden Nett, who won as many games as any pitcher in the National League this year on the mound, he's 3-0 in the playoffs this year, going up against Nakamura, 1-1 with a 7.15 ERA. Would have to think that this pitch-up matchup favors us. Nakamura, the lefty, doesn't have great stuff, although his ground ball tendencies and ability to keep the ball in the ballpark could play reasonably well in Colorado. But last time around, we got a 10-2 victory when we had this pitching matchup. We don't care if we crush them. Just want to make sure that we get the W. And we do get a 3-1 victory, so we will be headed to a decisive game number 7 of the World Series Net with the W, Nakamura with the loss, Herrera with his second save of the series. We jumped out with a run in the third on a RBI single from Carrig. In the fourth, Rutschman and Meyer had ribbies for us. They did come back in the top of the ninth to score a run to close the gap to 3-1. But the World Series is going to come down to one game tomorrow. Cole Carrig with a couple of hits for us, and Marcelo Meyer with 3 hits. Net, another very good performance, 5 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts, no earned runs allowed. Kerkering with the hold, Herrera with the save. But you know what that means for game number 7 if you have been following things closely. We're going to have Andrew Painter on the mound for this decisive game number 7. And we lost when Painter pitched game number 3 in the divisional series against Milwaukee. We lost when Painter pitched game number 3 of the NLCS against Washington. And we lost when Painter pitched game number 3 of this World Series against the Baltimore Orioles. 0-3 with a 5.40 ERA. Brandon Pfaadt on the mound for the Orioles. Couple of righties. Painter was a big acquisition of ours. Not that it was necessarily huge resources that we gave up for him, but felt that adding his arm to our staff was going to be helpful, particularly with the likelihood that we'd be moving on from Lopez after this season. It's been really rough in the playoffs, and it was rough in the regular season with that 6-13 record for Painter. But all will be forgotten, and all will be forgiven if he comes through with a winning performance for us today in Game 7 of this 2030 World Series against the Baltimore Orioles. If the home teams continue to win every game of this series, we'll be going home champions. If the trend of us losing every time Painter is on the mound continues, the Orioles will be your 2030 World Series champions. And the season ends in disappointing fashion for us. We made it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. It was a low-scoring football game, 14-10. Only one homer for the Orioles from the World Series MVP, Alex Ramirez. We had 5 home runs on the day, a couple from Drew Romo, Kevin Roberts Jr., Dean West, and Ryan Stone. So Romo and a lot of the youngsters hitting dingers for us. But although we hit 5 home runs, we still were outscored 14-10. Orioles with a couple in the first, and we lost this in a very painful fashion. We were tied 9-9 at the end of regulation. The Orioles with 5 runs in the top of the 10th. Big blow, 2-run double by Jordan Westberg. We came back with a run in the bottom of the 10th, but too little, too late. 29 hits, 24 runs scored, but unfortunately our Colorado Rockies, too little, too late. Jimenez was 0 for 5. Everybody else had at least 1 hit, and everyone except Amador and Simpson had multiple hits for us today. But the Baltimore Orioles are your 2030 World Series champions. Painter, not good. 5 hits, 4 earned runs over 4 2/3. And the bullpen that had been so good for us this entire season really blew up in this game of the playoffs. Soto had a 4.19 ERA on the year. He gave up 2 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. Luke Little had a 1.88 ERA. He gave up 3 earned runs in just 2/3 of an inning. Wellington Herrera had a 2.71 ERA, gave up a couple of earned runs in an inning and 2/3. And then this one really hurts. Justin Gibson, who had a 1.39 ERA in a brilliant rookie year, gave up 2 earned runs, 3 runs overall, while out without recording an out there in that top of the 10th inning. So it was a wild ride for the Rockies this year. Can't say I'm satisfied. We made it to Game 7 of the World Series, and anytime you make it that far, you want to come out on top. But as much as it would have been wonderful to leverage the 103-win season and top it off with a championship, that was not the situation for us here in 2030. And your Baltimore Orioles are your 2030 World Series champions. And as I noted, we're going to have a lot of big decisions to make this offseason to try to right-size the payroll. Moving on from Pablo Lopez, the simplest one of those moves will presumably be happening very shortly. But we'll sim forward one more day to find out what the budget looks like next year and what Mr. Monfort, I was thinking Charlie Condon, who's our first baseman, and I was like, that's not the right Charlie. We did get a 5-point boost to fan interest by making it to the World Series, so that's positive. Ended up delivering almost $17 million in profits this year, so that's positive. Let's sim forward one more day and find out exactly what we're going to be dealing with. And we're going to be facing a lot of big option year decisions. We've got a $5 million option on the reliever Gregory Santos, $12 million option on our ace Jesus Luzardo that will almost certainly exercise, $25 million for Pablo Lopez that will certainly not exercise, option year on the lefty reliever Gregory Soto, and then the shortstop Ezekiel Tovar, who missed all of last year. Team option for $23 million on him. Review of our season goals with Mr. Monfort. Heart-wrenching loss in the finals, but proud of the team we put together. Take some improvement in left field. Not happy with what's going on with attendance. Not happy with fan interest. Happy with our staff cohesion. Made the playoffs. Wants a championship in the next couple of years. We're way past due for a championship. Happy with our performance in the goals. Happy when he considers our on and off field success. Wants a championship, a hometown player, increasing attendance, increasing fan interest, better international amateur fines, and a team that can not only win a championship next year, but also bring home, I guess, another championship in the next 5 seasons. So after this very successful, albeit ultimately very disappointing finish to the season, what's our budget going to look like next year? And Mr. Monfort continues to remain very frustrating because after the best regular season in Rockies history, the second divisional title in Rockies history, and we are the ones who delivered the other one, the wins in the NLDS and the NLCS, and making it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series, and also delivering a nice profit to Mr. Monfort. He's actually cut our budget by $2 million next year to $204 million. So we are going to continue to have one of the smallest budgets in all of baseball. I'm assuming that we still have pathetic fan interest. assume we would have gotten an email if that wasn't the case. So still going to have the 26th budget in baseball next year. You can see right now we've got no money available, and that also entails stripping our scouting and player development budgets down significantly. Clearly, we've got the lever to get to $25 million off the books. Actually, it'll be $22.5 million that we'll actually save by paying the $2.5 million we need to give to Lopez to give him off the books. That will at least put us in a situation where we're okay and we can have a decent investment in scouting and player development. But we will be losing the excellent left-handed reliever Luke Little, starting second baseman Andres Jimenez, although if Condon or Tovar is healthy and we can pivot Marcelo Bayer back to second, that's not as big a loss. We'll need to find another catcher with Adley Rutschman going, and Ryan Kerkering had an outstanding year for us as a stopper. So definitely going to be some significant losses in players that we're unlikely to be able to afford. Could free up some money by moving on from some arbitration-eligible players. But we are going to have a lot of big decisions ahead of us, and we'll do our annual roster review and start strategizing on our end, and hopefully also with some input from the worldwide scouting department as to how we should proceed in this upcoming off season. So the positives, as I said, is 5 consecutive playoff appearances with this Colorado Rockies team, which we've turned around dramatically from the brutal squad that it was in 2025, but still feels very hollow at this point to have made it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series and to fall just short. But gives us an opportunity to try to come back and be one game better next season than we were this past season. And we'll start talking about our plan to hopefully achieve that in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.